my very warm welcome. You're watching Discussion Today with your host, Kriti Mishra. Corridors rang out with the chatter of students meeting up with their friends and teachers after long, anxious months on January 1st, 2021, as schools in Kerala, Karnataka and Assam reopened with strict COVID-19 regulations, including masks, thermal screening and social distancing. These schools will strictly follow the COVID-19 guidelines. Earlier, schools in Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Jharkhand and Sikkim have been partially reopened. Schools and colleges and higher education institutions have been closed since March due to the COVID pandemic. Students were being taught online. In the unlock process, the Ministry of Home Affairs had given permission to open the schools from September 2020, gradually opening in many states from 9th to 12th grade, while several states decided to remain closed. And to discuss the way forward, I'm joined by Mr. Piyush Prakash, Senior Associate, Education, Niti Aayog, and Professor Vandana Saxena, Professor, Department of Education, Delhi University. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Professor
you.
Saxena, coming to you first. New Year 2021 begins on a cautious note with unlocking of the schools. What is your take, ma'am?
Well, it's a very difficult situation for all of us, especially those in education, because we have to deal with pandemic, but at the same time, the school and the annual closure of the session is also approaching. So I think in this very critical situation, we are all cautious, yes, but at the same time, we need to be taking certain steps which ensure that the critical years of schooling in every child's life do not bear any burden of COVID-19 in the rest of their life. So I think it is essential for us to be looking forward to some kind of balance. We are scared, we are afraid, but at the same time, we need to be hopeful, and we also need to be looking forward to certain kind of trust in each other that we would be able to do something which is in favor of both the education as well as the society, and most importantly, looking after the health of the children. It's very, very critical. So we are at a kind of a crossroad, which is critical, but at the same time, we also need to devise ways and come out of the situation in a more innovative manner. So thinking out of the box would be very, very essential for all of us.
Absolutely,
So,
and it's the new normal that all of us have to get accustomed to. Mr.
Absolutely.
Prakash, what are the health protocols that the states need to follow, and what are the measures or the factors they have to keep in mind while reopening the schools?
Yeah, sure. As Professor Vandana was mentioning, we need to be cautious while we are opening the schools. So you see, the basic norms, like what the Prime Minister also keeps saying, like do gaz zaruri, do gaz duri hai zaruri, right? So we'll have to focus on social distancing. At the same time, we'll have to make sure that all the kids and the teachers are having proper hygiene and wash facilities, which are supposed to be in the schools. At the same time, masks are important, and the way you wear the masks, right? Like you do not have to drop it down. You have to, up your mask. That's the thing that needs to be kept in mind while we are doing the opening the schools. So these three basic things, if we follow, sincerely, we'll be able to manage this COVID thing.
Right. Professor Saxena, what is your biggest concern as we unlock or as you're back to the classrooms?
See, one of my biggest concern would be which classes are we reopening? Like if we are opening the critical year classes, which are like 10th and 12th, we have to take proper precautions with regard to that. It's as Piyush also said, that it's important to have those three protocols needs to be followed. But beyond that, when you are in a school for say around 2 hours, maybe I'm not saying that the schools are opening for the whole time. Even if they're opening for just 2 hours or 3 hours, they would have to have a lot of other facilities being available, which are related to drinking water. Is there enough soap available in the school? Yes. So that there is hand washing facility. We are kind of saying it time and again that washing your hands with soap is very important and critical. Is there enough water over there? Are the toilets working or not working? So how do we maintain that? Now, if supposing kids want to eat something, we have to figure out, will the school be giving certain kind of midday meals, or will there be some canteen arrangement or things like that? So when we think of the school, we don't think of school only in terms of a classroom. It's a whole institution. It's a whole community in itself, and that community goes through it has different multiple facilities facilities or the infrastructural facilities which are needed for that entire purpose. So one of my biggest concern would be that even if children wear masks, are the other facilities properly available or not? There is a lot of data which says that toilet and drinking water facilities are we are not very good with that. I don't want to use any strict word for it, but we are not very good on that. So we kind of, and these become very primary even when we talk hygiene. You may sanitize the classroom every half an hour, that's okay. But then what happens beyond the classroom in a school, it's very important. Another thing is that how the teachers and students are there in the classroom. Like, are we, if we are calling only few students, so are we kind of breaking them into smaller groups? So because classrooms, in reality, the classrooms are very congested. So even when I plan to call one section a day, I don't know what is the plan like, how people are reopening. They still have to unfold that entire idea. So we'll have to figure out that whether there'll be more classrooms available for that, whether the ratio of teacher and student would be appropriate if they divide a single class into more than one groups of students for maintaining the idea of social distancing. So this is another very critical point that we need to think about, the student-teacher ratio and how the student would be divided into smaller groups so that they get those kind of learning experiences in the school. Another very important thing which is outside the school is how will they commute to the school. So if it's a neighborhood school where you can just walk down, I think the things get little easier. You can walk down to the premise. But if I look at Delhi or if I look at many other places, walking down may not be the way how the children or the teachers are commuting to the school. So I think that becomes another very critical part, that how you reach the school and that entire area, how you maintain that corridor of movement for teachers and students is another very critical point according to me.
Yeah. Let me take that to Mr. Prakash. Mr. Prakash, very important points mentioned there by Professor Saxena. How do we address these challenges?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, really great points. I'll just like 2 points. The first one was about the safety and how to operationalize the school with all these restrictions of COVID and safety measures and availability of toilets and all. And the second was on the transportation bit, right? So I'll take the first one first. So just to mention, like if you see, there was a guideline that was released by Ministry of Education and MHA. And similarly, the UN, UNICEF also released a really well, detailed document, step-by-step processes, guidelines are there. So how do you organize the schools? So you organize the schools in shifts. You call the classes in staggered timings. Like you call a few classes in the morning hours, then you call a few classes in the afternoons, and then you call the few classes in the evening, right? And even within the same classroom, you do not call all the students on the same day. What you do call them on alternate days or maybe on a gap of 2-3 days, and you provide them with the necessary teaching learning and provide them with teaching learning material. And that's how you break this, the crowding in the school and other stuff. Regarding this wash facilities and all, like close to 97.3% schools in India now have functional toilets. So we have made a great improvement there. We do measure all these things in the URICE data set. So that won't be a problem. And if there would be, I'm sure that the school administration are taking very stringent measures to make sure that no such, unwanted things happen in the schools. Regarding the transportation, but yeah, that is going to be a problem if the schools are far away. Yes. And then that's become, prerogative of the school, like of the school administration in the state. Like, where do you want to open the school? Do you want to open the school where they are, closely located, or do you want to open schools which are far away? So that's totally the call of schools. And if you see, few states have gone for opening all the schools, few have gone for opening schools in senior grades, if you're opening in primary grades, and if you're not opening schools at all. So depending on the situation, we'll have to look at this data points, like what is the distance of the school from the, average distance of the school from the children's home, and all these facilities, whether they're available or not. And depending on this data points, you take a decision. And that's totally into the, prerogative of the state governments. But the Ministry of Education and MHA has provided detailed guidelines for the way forward. Yeah.
Also, the fact that it is incumbent on each individual to follow the COVID-19 guidelines. Professor Saxena, in this new normal, in this change scenario, in these trying times, what are the added responsibilities of the teachers, and how do we ensure that children particularly follow the guidelines when they're out?
See, Kriti, it's a very interesting question that you're asking. See, one is about when you talk about teachers, one is definitely about that they have to ensure that the students follow the guidelines with regard to it. But another critical thing is also about the pedagogical and the learning experiences
Yes.
that teachers have to design. When Piyush says that we can divide them into groups and they can come in different segments and they can come a few days a school, a few days a week to the school and things like that, I think it requires a lot of planning on the hand of teachers. Teachers will have to ensure that if this particular group is coming to me for say around 1 hour a week or thrice a week, then what do I do with them? And that is
Exactly.
something which is very critical. Now, when we decide to open the whole school, the pedagogy is going to be different. If we decide to open only the 10th and 12th class standards, the pedagogies are going to be different because needs are different. We are calling them a different mandate in mind. So when the agendas of calling children to the school are different, there is bound to be a lot of responsibility on the teachers also.
Yes.
So I also have that kind of a question mark. I have a lot of trust in my teachers group. We have seen and they have been doing a wonderful job in the last, I think, 7-8 months till the time we have moved into lockdowns. They are one of the most energetic people and most devoted people after doctors in this whole pandemic who have taken care of the whole situation. I think so. This is something where the teachers would also be reinventing themselves. So one, I'm happy that even if you're calling in grade 10th and 12th, at least you have postponed the exams till May. So that teachers will also come over, they will also take a little time, they will also have to break that inertia and reinvent themselves into the classroom. So yes, definitely the new normal is a challenge with regard to the medical or the health norms that we need to follow, the social distancing that we have to follow. But in a system of school, it is also very, very critical about what you bring to the classroom. And as Piyush ji said that they would be distributing certain kind of teaching learning materials and all that. So what is the agenda of calling them to the school? And accordingly, you'll have to design that curriculum material also and what you want the children to learn and do, what they can go and they can what they can do when they go back home. Another important thing, Kriti, here is that the schools which are facing this whole idea of opening or reopening are the government schools. They are the
Yes.
state-sponsored schools. For the simple reason that those people who are studying in private schools, they don't have any dearth of infrastructures in terms of digital technologies and things like that. So the entire responsibility is falling on for a particular segment of people who are themselves very resourceless. So when we're talking about this resourcelessness of the family and the community, the teachers will then again have to understand that they may not get a substantial support from the families for the kind of learning materials that they design. So how you will create that self-sufficiency in the learning material, what are the kind of resources that you provide, I see that as a very big challenge in times to come during this new normal, I guess.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Prakash, what are the innovative methods that we
Yeah.
can work on?
Right. So, in fact, regarding this TLM, the teaching learning material, or what sort of methodology we should adopt, in fact, this entire period of the school were not opening, we did innovate. We innovated a lot. So, if you see
Yes.
in Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh and Odisha, Niti Aayog runs a program called Sathi, where we handhold the state governments. We like work together to make sure that the overall quality of education in the state improves, right? So during this COVID, what we did, we tried out a very unique way of in very remote districts of in Jharkhand, that children were called in open spaces, and the walls of the classroom of the school were painted in black, with black color for such so as to be used as a blackboard. And there, as Professor Vandana was saying, that what they did, they brought this teaching learning material, they explained it to the kids, and then they were given tasks. Okay, this is the particular concept, this is how you are going to understand it, and these are the few things you need to do at home. And once you do that, you come back. So this sort of innovation, local innovations, they just came up depending on the need of a particular region, right? Similarly, in Madhya Pradesh, we had Digital LP, where we provided teaching learning material through WhatsApp and even through TV. And then again, you have a supporting teaching learning material where you solve those things. There were parental guides as well. There were a lot of PTMs meeting that were held in aspirational districts, which is another program which Niti Aayog runs, and the parents were counseled on that. And not very far away from Delhi, like right in Delhi, the parents are called like every week. The SMC's members make sure that the parents are coming, they're collecting the teaching learning material, and at the same time they are advised how to deal with that, how to help the children solve them. just an oversight, not actually imparting the technical knowledge, but the oversight thing. And then they go back to school and do some consultation with the teachers. So this innovation will crop up by themselves depending on the needs of the situation and what kind of region we are dealing with. So this was all of this was our experience while we were dealing with making sure that the kids are learning during the school lockdown.
Professor Saxena, but I'm equally intrigued to know, what about assessment and evaluation, and what about attendance guidelines?
Well, there are all kind of data reported from different teachers because a lot of our alumni are school teachers in different kind of schools at this moment. So there are a lot of data reported with regard to attendance, and that's something which is very interesting, that how they switch on, how the students switch on the phones, and then they say, yes, madam, and then they can easily go up to sleep saying that network issues, and then we are not able to switch on the camera and things like that. So there are definite issues, but one thing which, because we have been in a lot of discussion, like Piyush has been in discussion about organizing, but we have been in a lot of discussions about how the people are organizing their classrooms. One of the very positive outcome of these online classes is that many teachers and students have reported that they have become independent learners, because that is the challenge now. Like as Piyush is also saying, that we'll have to innovate according to the situations. So one of the very important and critical thing is that we have seen a trend of student emerging as independent learner. They are bringing in a lot of activities to the classroom, because now they're more at home, they are not disturbed by any other things, they look around their environment and they're bringing in a lot of things to the classroom. So I think that is one positive thing. And as I said, why I mentioned this when you're talking about assessment is that the assessment pattern there has been a lot of discussion about reinventing the entire assessment pattern. And this is the kind of participative learning that we are talking about, when the children are coming by themselves, they are coming to the classrooms and they're bringing in the kind of ideas to the classroom. I think the classroom becomes a space for 41 people to collectively learn as a collective if there are 40 children and one teacher in the classroom. And that has been a beautiful outcome and a very promising outcome of online classes where things are happening like that. So for sure, the patterns, like as the pedagogies have to emerge, as the classroom processes have to emerge, the entire idea of how and what you want as an assessment will also need to emerge. Like, do I really want to go for that term and pen paper test and then do that? Or am I counting on, am I profiling? See, we have always been talking about the profiling of children in a school scenario, that on the day-to-day basis, what they're doing, and the teacher will have to keep an account of that. So because the teachers earlier were busy checking the unit test, which were the term end test or the semester end test, so they were also working in those designs. But now if the teachers are also looking at it, they're also able to maintain the records of how children are participating, what are they bringing to the classroom. This motivates other children also. So I think the entire matrix or the grid of assessment did require a change. And this is a time where we have figured out that students can actually participate in their own learning. And so the assessment grid can be spread over, we need to create a spreadsheet for assessment and evaluation. Most teachers are doing it at this point of time. Students are happy with it. There is less stress with regard to term and exam. So I think all this is adding up, and definitely in a year also we shall be better. Even when we come offline to the schools, we would come back with a lot more enrichment of how individuals can participate. So this has been a very huge learning experience for all of us. So yeah.
Ma'am, you mentioned about online classes. Mr. Prakash, you may recall that the Parliamentary Committee on Home Affairs commended the government, hailed the efforts for the online classes. Now, do you think online class is a viable option for all times to come now?
Online classes is going to be the future, like the kind of opportunities it offers you, right? Especially if I talk about school education or higher education, the use of technology like AI, it offers you a bouquet of courses depending your own interest and your strengths and weaknesses, right? So that kind of personalization, the tailor-made things that you get through online education is like remarkable. At the same time, but we'll have to be mindful of the fact that for as of now, the penetration of internet and other things is still still not I'll say not optimal. And but depending various kind of initiatives that the government has taken, be the BharatNet project where all the gram panchayats are going to be connected with high-speed internet. So future is going to be towards online education, towards personalization. Like you learn what you want to learn, right? And if you say the national education policy, you have this online degrees, you have credit banks, right? So whatever you want to learn, you learn those credits, you get those credits, and you kind of tailor-made your own learning process, right? So it's going to be the future, and it will catch up gradually as and when the infrastructure, the internet infrastructure, and the things improve in the country, which hopefully will be very soon, because all the initiatives that we are taking is taking shape now. And recently, Honorable Prime Minister also announced PM Wani Yojana,
Yes.
which is like putting hotspots, internet hotspots in public spaces, right? So that gives access to a lot of people who do not have the capacity to buy these data packs, right? So I feel like we are looking towards the future, which will be very much conducive for the learner to learn, right? In whatever they want to learn. It's like, freeing them, giving them more independence and choice.
Absolutely. Professor Saxena, with Digital India Initiative, India is also betting big on 5G now. PM Vani, as Mr. Prakash pointed out, do you think it will be very easy to bridge the learning gap now?
I don't think anything is easy with the kind of volumes we have in India, so we can't call it easy. But this kind of what do I say? We are just out of the routine. The kind of a tangent which the COVID-19 has drawn on the process of education is something which is promising. So I would not see it as an easy task, because task is not easy, but education by itself, it's so multidimensional that we can't say that we set one thing right and then everything will set right. There are no thumb rules of that kind. But I think at the same time, this entire idea of individualized learning, this entire idea of trusting your student, this entire idea of teachers traveling that extra mile and working, all those things have very optimally being seen during these 7-8 months, because we were pushed into it earlier, but now people are critically assessing it. People are trying to say that, okay, now this is how the schools would go on. See, we are a generation who are trained on a social campus. We are a generation who are trained with friends, hanging around during recess and things like that. So we might have a little more inertia about breaking that entire thing up. But at the same time, it is very essential for, individualizing education. We have spoken so much about it. I come from diversity pedagogy line. We have spoken so much about individualizing. And now when there has been an opportunity for the people, which is a forced opportunity, but I'm sure if people look into it from a foresight, they would be able to understand that it can be a very promising space for school education as well. I'm not talking about higher education as of now, because I think that's the focus today. So definitely it will be a very strong thing coming in.
Mr. Prakash, how do we make the most of this opportunity?
I would say just go with the flow, and things will fall in place. Let's not be very agnostic of technology, because technology is going to drive the future. And as Professor Vanna was mentioning, even in school education, you see, like we keep learning about different reports saying the children are not learning and they are lagging behind from their grade level. So if you have this personalized kind of things in the classroom, even adaptive learning sort of thing, or I understand that there are IT related infrastructural constraint in the schools. But what if we have a collective of a lot of tabs or something, and we do a rotation in a cluster of schools or in a block, right? So it's more about how you optimally utilize your resources. At the same time, you make sure that the kids who are lagging behind, they learn. Because once school reopen, you'll see like there might be lag in learning levels, right? Because of just the quantum of time that they were out of school, and many kids won't be able to get all these facilities of learning. So I would say all these things like human resources, social interaction, at the same time use of technology, whatever you have, all the bricks, you just gather it and pave your way forwards for better learning for the kids in the school.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, you made a very important point that we have to make the most of this opportunity, pave our way and learn to live in this new normal. On that note, thank you so much for joining us. So that's all we have for you in this edition of Discussion today. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV.